Hi, I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. It's Monday, the 6th of February, and we've just had a weekend of particularly cold weather. Actually, the really cold weather started on Friday. I checked my hives out back on Friday afternoon. Wind started picking up, temperature started going down. Friday morning was about 30. By the evening, we were down to minus 10. And by Saturday morning, minus 19. All of that, the wind was picking up, so we had a wind chill of almost minus 60 in this part of Maine. It was brutally cold. Like everybody, had some concerns about how the bees would fare, but having said that, they were all well wrapped, covered up, and in pretty good shape. So I'm fairly confident that the bees would do just fine in that. My real concern were for hives that were not insulated, and with that, especially with that wind chill, it was going to be a real problem. But having said that, I'm going to tell you a bit of a tale of some pretty remarkable survival as in terms of just how amazingly resilient some of these bees are. Now, I've got, 24 colonies back here, and actually, during a storm a few weeks back, we had very high winds, and that then followed with a lot of rain, where the temperatures were, we had about 4 inches of snow, which then turned to rain, and I was mortified to find two of my hives uncovered. And in fact, I had this set up. I've got a little solar powered camera, and I had this apparatus here on top of those styrofoam hives here, and just to make sure everything was weighed down properly, I had some good rocks here to try and hold everything down. But what happened? The wind still blew it off, and it survived these. In fact, it was these two colonies here. The wind survived. A wind came along, blew the top off, and then that left them totally unweighted down, and those rocks weren't there. The lids blew off. These were styrofoam hives. In fact, the second colony there, the cover had landed upside down, so filled with water and rain, and then froze by the time I found it the next day. But in both cases, the bees were still alive then after that storm, after their soaking and cold, and it was I couldn't really believe it. So I put extra rocks on, and I reset up my my colonies, and had my camera going so I could see the odd bit of flying on the occasional day. I can just dial into my cell phone and check camera number 1. Got camera number 2 over there near the pond, but camera number 1 was here watching the entrance of the hives, so I could see bees flying on a warm afternoon. But then this last weekend, the Friday, we had some terrifically cold weather, and I'd put more rocks on the base of my half upturned super with the camera on it. But I checked my phone on Saturday. Let's see what happened. The wind was blowing a gale. We were down to minus 60 or so wind chill. All day Saturday it was still brutally cold. It never got above 0 Fahrenheit, that is. That's about minus 20 centigrade. The wind was blowing, so I never came outside. But in the evening, before it got dark, I actually checked my camera, and I saw that that camera was over here somewhere, and everything had blown off. I thought, oh, I'd lost that hive. So yesterday morning I came out, and this cover was over here, and I thought, no, these bees are bound to be dead. And I looked in here, and there they were, still alive. 2 days they'd been uncovered, minus 60 degrees wind chill, as low as that. It never really got, by the time I checked them, there was about 15, 16 degrees, 17 degrees. So it never got above the teens Fahrenheit, still about 10 below freezing, 10 below 0 centigrade. And there they were, still moving. Unbelievable ability for the bees to generate enough heat. I mean, it was cold enough that we would have frostbite in 5 minutes out here. And there they were, the bees still moving. And whilst I've not seen a lot of bees coming out, they're well insulated underneath and around the sides, but their top was fully exposed. I could see 4, maybe 5 frames of bees, and middle parts were definitely moving along. Now, it could be that the outer edges died, but holy crap, that is one amazing ability to withstand cold temperatures. But I suppose honeybees, like other animals, are adapted for being able to tolerate cold. They hate that sudden change to cold, but they are capable of surviving even in most extreme circumstances at times, as long as they're healthy. In other words, your mite levels have been taken care of, and therefore virus levels are pretty low, and the cluster is large enough to cope with it, because then it's just a simple matter of thermodynamics, surface area, heat, and what insulation they've got. And while some people criticize me saying, no, bees don't need insulation, all you're doing is helping the weak survive, and I say, you're wrong. And I feel like saying things in a more robust terms at times, I must say, because I hate it when people just go online and criticize good advice because they've got some sort of agenda saying, yeah, no, you don't need to do that. You're only saving weak hives. Well, that isn't the case. We've got a lot of small colonies here which had small clusters because they were relatively late starts. For various reasons, you can have colonies that are small but very healthy and not weak, just small. And there's no reason. It's a very simple thing to help them through the winter. They can come through the winter then and be extremely robust colonies later on. But I really dislike it. I occasionally go onto groups and I'll talk on local Facebook groups and post some information which I know is helpful to people. And there's always a few that have some sort of agenda. Either they don't like me or they don't like the advice I'm giving, and they just decide that they're gonna shoot that idea down. And I just don't have time for it. That's actually why we started beekeeping 24/7. We're sick to death of people being critical and not helping to hand out good advice. And they say you got to do it our way or no way, and they just don't see the different ways of doing things. I've proven to myself, Amy's proven to herself, that we've got ways that work really well for us. And if they don't want to do it that way, they're welcome to it. And if people don't want to hear the sort of ways we're doing it, they can tune in elsewhere, that's fine. But why shoot down good advice because we can help a lot of people? Anyway, that was enough of that. I've got to tidy things up again. A stack of soup is all blew over. I've got those rocks on, and yes, before you write in, absolutely, ratchet straps or some sort of strapping would hold on those covers so much better. But I thought with the extra rocks I put on there, I was going to be fine. Okay, I wasn't. But some strapping on there is definitely the answer. Problem is, I've got so many hives, and I don't want to have the hassle of opening, undoing straps all the time, especially in the winter time when they're going to be icy and cold if I need to get in there and feed. So I don't use straps unless I'm moving a hive. I'll use rocks, but clearly with that extra wind sail on the top of the hive, that was rocks, 3 rocks there, 4 rocks there were not adequate. So hence I'm not going to put that on top of hives right now. Put it on the snow. As it warms up, it's going to sink into the snow. I'll be able to see what I want by just moving that camera around in a different way. But I just wanted to share that story with you in terms of those bees. I bought these Saskatraz bees about 4 or 5 years ago because they had a reputation, being bred in Canada originally, that they're coming from stock which overwinter very well in the cold. And I found that they not only do they do that well, they seem to be a little more tolerant of mites. They're by no means a finished article. They're extremely gentle, which is a real bonus when I found that. But I would say surviving those conditions was above and beyond the call of duty. I have no doubt that some of the races of bee would have done exactly the same thing, but I still love those Saskatraz. Anyway, now that we're back into above average temperatures again, so we've had relatively few days where it's been below average. We had a brutal example of it this weekend, and we've had plenty of snow recently, but now we're back to a week where 4 out of 5 days is going to be 5 to 10 degrees above the winter normal for this time of year, and long may that continue. So hopefully we've bottomed out winter-wise, and we're going to be back into above average temperatures consistently. I'd love to see those brood chambers building up early so I can get an early start on my nukes this year. I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. See you next time.